So it looks like former Lincoln Project staffers have found new employment. You'll never guess where. We'll give you one hint. They're still screaming about Russia. That's next. The Democratic Party spent the last 4 years in a McCarthyite froth over Russia. They told us that Russia, not China, was the real threat to the United States. Well, that was absurd, of course. It was absurd then. It's absurd now, maybe even more so. The funny part is that over at the Republican National Committee, they believed it. How do we know? This is a real ad just released by the RNC. Watch.
It's morning again in Russia. Today, thousands of comrades are going back to work building Russia's future. Thanks to U.S. President Joe Biden putting Russia first, the Russian economy is being built back better. Biden's hard work removing sanctions on the Nord Stream 2 pipeline means more money for our government to do the work of the Russian people. Billions and billions of rubles to build a stronger future for Russia. Thanks to Joe Biden, it's morning again in Russia.
So Joe Biden is bad because he doesn't sanction Russia enough? Joe Biden is very bad, much worse than anybody ever understood he could be. But being too nice to Russia is not his primary sin. Richard Hanania is someone we've read a lot and never talked to. He's the president of the Center for the Study of Partisanship and Ideology. He joins us tonight. Richard, thanks so much for coming on. So
Thanks for having me, Tucker.
What kind of thinking leads to people at the RNC deciding the way to attack Joe Biden in the face of everything that's happening that they're doing right now at the White House is to say he's not tough enough on Russia?
Well, in 2016, Trump ran on the idea of America first, and ran on the idea of not being involved in foreign conflicts. You know, he was very strongly against NATO. He said it was obsolete. If people haven't noticed, the country NATO was designed to counter hasn't existed for 30 years. So Republicans found it beneficial to adopt a lot of this rhetoric. Unfortunately, on policy, and we've seen this time and time again, it's still basically the Bush and the Bush-Cheney party. We've expanded NATO in the last few years. The U.S. has added North Macedonia and Montenegro. These countries have militaries that are about the size of a mid-sized U.S. city's police force. And nobody even pretends to argue that this in any way defends American interests. Now you understand why Democrats sort of like NATO. It's become something of a social engineering project. The U.S., through the State Department, through the Pentagon, is really pushing identity politics. They're pushing things like race-conscious politics in France, ideas about gender identity, gender fluidity in Eastern Europe. So I think it makes ideological sense for the Democrats to be all in on NATO and sort of the transatlantic alliance. And the people who are against Trump within the administration on the first impeachment, I mean, the thing that they were most upset about was that he would dare do what he ran on, which was pull back from NATO, pull back from commitments in Eastern Europe. It's very strange, though, that the Republicans at the same time are joining the Democrats and voting for NATO expansion, attacking Biden for, just like they attacked Obama for being too hawkish. I mean, they found the rhetoric of putting America first in their foreign policy. They found that beneficial. Unfortunately, policy-wise, it's still the Bush-Cheney party.
Yeah, they didn't mean it at all. Thank you for pointing that out. He's not tough enough on Russia? I mean, it's like demented, these people. Richard Hanania, it's great to meet you after reading you so much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tucker. My pleasure.